Welcome to another edition of the Highland Lakes Quality Center podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Fierro. We are celebrating Pride Week virtually, and we're highlighting several members of our community as we all want to gather you around your computers or whatever listening device you have and celebrate Pride with us. We want to welcome Christi Bushey-Reyes, a retired band director from the area. Christi, welcome.
Thank you.
Before we go too much further in, tell us how you identify.
I identify as a lesbian. I've been out probably for the last 25, 26 years officially. Band director, wife, mother, stepmother, I should say, and that's pretty much it.
Well, that's a lot. It doesn't sound like you're bored a whole lot.
No, I keep pretty busy, yeah.
What's the best part about being married?
Best part about being married is my wife, the person I'm married to. She is an incredible person and keeps me grounded, helps me when I need help, and just a great person. Her family has been very accepting, her two children. It's just great to be part of that family unit.
When did you know that you like girls the way I like girls?
It's crazy to say, but I want to say that I probably knew something subconsciously when I was in second grade. I've known that long that I like girls. I wanted to be called Chris instead of Christy. The first girl I kissed was in fourth grade. I've known for a long time.
I'm so fascinated because you and I were about the second grade, because that's when I knew as well. But my first kiss definitely didn't happen in the fourth grade. Was that on purpose, on accident? I mean, would you even call it experimenting? I don't even know at that age that anybody really knows what to call it.
I don't know what to call it other than we were on military base quarters, and there was just a small group of us, and this girl and I just clicked, and we had one kiss the whole time. But we known each other for like a year or so.
Did you grow up an Army brat?
Yes, Army brat.
Oh, okay, because you said military base, and I didn't know. How many bases did you live on growing up? Too many to count?
Yeah, probably. If you gauge it by my second grade school year, we were in 3 or 4 different places in that school year. So finally stopped at Fort Hood in Coppers Cove. My mom said, we're done. And my dad kept going, but we stayed there.
Okay, so Central Texas is your home then?
Yep, pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
From 6th grade on.
Wow, did not know that. What made you pursue education as a career?
Pretty early on as well, probably 6th, 7th grade, I knew I wanted to be some kind of educator. Initially, it was going to be a coach. I was involved in sports all the way through high school, and then of course band, and just ended up doing something called Drum Corps International, which just sold me on being a band director.
And what is Drum Corps International?
Without getting too far into it, it's basically professional marching band is what it is. You go out during the summers and you march every night in a different place. That's basically what it is.
You became an educator. I don't think you ever hid your orientation.
Probably in the first 5 or 6 years, I didn't hide it, so to speak, but I just never brought it up. In those first earlier years of my career, I didn't have a partner or anything, so it wasn't an issue, so to speak. But then when I did have a partner, I didn't hide it. She would come to football games if we had performances or whatever, come to concerts and stuff like that. I'm sure people talked, but nobody ever asked. It wasn't so much a don't ask, don't tell. It was just, it was what I was about, what I was doing.
How many partners did you have before you married your wife?
2.
How many years were you an educator?
28.
Okay, because you recently retired, correct?
Yes.
Really, the heart of all this is what I wanted to talk about today. I still think that there are some educators who are not openly out. There are those that we can tell who they are. There are some that we think we know and are mistaken by.
Yes, very true, very true.
And then there are still others, I don't want to say they hide who they are, they don't broadcast it either though. What I think gets missed, and this is me just thinking, the kids, because I know growing up for me, I know that I didn't see a lot of lesbians in education. Or that I knew. I had a suspicion of one, but she was mean as a hornet's nest. and I knew I never wanted to be like that. But I didn't see a lot of role models, a lot of lesbian role models. Not like you are today. Not like we see today. And I still think that in our area, here in the Highland Lakes, kids still don't see a lot of role models. What do you say?
I would have to agree with that, but I do know of one or two that I've come in, worked with, whatever, but it's just not something that an educator is going to broadcast. One, because there could be repercussions, but I think at least my experience here and in most places, it's just not something as an educator that I put first. I don't list lesbian educator in front of being a band director. First and foremost, I'm a band director, and I just happen to be a lesbian, and if certain groups of kids gravitate towards me because I'm a lesbian, I'm okay with that. I just feel like I'm a safe person when it comes to that. Not that I'm going to go out and advocate that everybody should be a lesbian or gay man or trans or whatever. I'm just, you are who you are and I'm who I am. And really, we're not here to talk about my sexuality. We're here to make music. So let's make music,
That ultimately, because what you said with my other job, we don't identify sources as John Smith, heterosexual doctor, or,
right.
Gay whatever, gay professional, gay business owner. We don't do that. That's not something we do, to the detriment of some very conservative reporters in the area who would love for us to out people. And that's a discussion for another day.
Right.
Because I'm not in favor of that. Because I agree with you. We should not be defined by our orientation or our identity.
Exactly. It's one part of who you are. I mean, nobody ever walks up to a straight person and goes, "So you're straight, so, what does that mean to you?" I mean, everybody knows what it means to be a straight person, so to speak. It's what people think is normal, and it's not necessarily the case. Who's to say you're normal and I'm not? You know what I mean?
Tell me about the kids who gravitate toward you not outing anybody. What was it about you that they gravitated towards you? What was it about you?
Well, I think first and foremost, not just being a lesbian, but being in the band world, especially here in the Highland Lakes, being in the district that I was in until I retired. It was grades 6 through 12. So we kind of knew those kids, growing up, that we saw them become musicians. We saw them go through heartache. And then, so those kids that may have been struggling with who they were as far as sexuality goes, I think they just knew that I was a safe person, that I wasn't going to judge them because I was like them in the sense that I'm a lesbian. But I'm also, just a caring person. I wouldn't say that only the gay kids gravitated towards me. I mean, I would say I was pretty nice to all of them and hard person when I was supposed to be and disciplined when I needed to be, but I think they knew I was fair and I wasn't going to judge who they were.
Did you offer any advice? Did they ask for advice? Because what are the boundaries as an educator? Most
of the time it was just how they were feeling at that particular moment and telling them that they're going to have some hard times, there's going to be some struggles. But as far as getting too far in depth to it, I would not do that, mainly because there's probably legal issues there, in discussing sexuality and, people having their issues with that. But I think mainly because I didn't feel like I was a counselor. I just wanted them to know that if they needed to talk to somebody, that I would listen. I wouldn't necessarily have any answers for them, but I could help direct them to where they needed to go for answers.
You had mentioned growing up in Central Texas, Coppers Cove. I'm in my mid-40s, and are you in your...
50, I'm 54.
Okay, all right, so you're in your mid-50s. Tell me about growing up in the Austin area in the 80s. What was that like?
Well, so Coppers Cove is definitely military town, more conservative. Of course, during my junior high school years, I wasn't trying to pursue any relationships there. It was just, I had crushes, sure, just like everybody else. And I tried to play the person that I was supposed to be. I had a boyfriend. I actually got married and divorced rather quickly.
To a man?
To a man. That was... Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to ask you, what was that like?
That was not a good situation. That should have never happened. Unfortunately, it's one of my big regrets in life because it wasn't fair to the guy and it wasn't fair to me. But you are so ingrained and taught that you're supposed to get married and play this role, and I tried to do it and it didn't work. I think that's another thing as I got older that I realized you really need to be yourself. You just have to be yourself yourself and open to people that come into your lives. And I think that also helped that these kids knew that I wasn't perfect. None of these kids probably even know that I was ever married, but I think they knew that I wasn't perfect. Married to a man. Of course, I'm married to Sarah right now, but
Well, hopefully forever.
Forever. This is it.
I don't want to get you in the doghouse here. That's why I had to throw that in there. Yes. I actually know your wife, so and I know that she can handle herself pretty well. Let's go back to and again, you have my permission to say we're crossing a line here.
Okay.
Because you said something that I think people need to hear. You got married and you knew it never should have happened.
Right. I was standing at the altar going, this is not right.
Tell me about the difference between kissing somebody you know you're genuinely attracted to, genuinely feel real feelings for, versus kissing somebody that you're kissing because it's expected. Because here's what I'm trying to say. I don't know that I think your story is that unique, but it's one that's not talked about.
I'm pretty sure it's not a unique story. Especially people my age, it's probably happened a lot. I mean, you even read the stories, if you have read some coming out stories, especially women get married to a man and then divorce after 20 or so years. So it's not a unique story. And as far as not getting into too much detail, but it's definitely different to kiss a guy than it is to kiss a woman.
For you?
For me.
Right.
Yes.
Because I will say women, it feels like women in our age, it feels like our late in life lesbians. That's what I call them. What do you call them?
Most definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so to hear their testimony, I'm reminded of a story that I heard in college where I would have friends who majored in public relations, and I would say to them, how do you know that you're supposed to be in public relations and not a reporter? And they said, because nothing ever made sense as a reporter. I struggled writing the stories. I wanted to be good. I wanted to tell good things about something. I didn't want to expose anything bad. And so I sat down with the person in charge of public relations division at J School, and they said, try public relations, and it worked. It just clicked. And that would be the message that I would have for anybody out there. If you know that it just doesn't work, you're not finding your footing. I mean, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never kissed a man. Never intend to. But what I'm saying is that I hear the late in life lesbian testimonies, and that seems to be the one common ground. Well, many common pieces of ground, but that one. That now it makes sense. Everything makes sense about being married to a woman. The feelings, the physical attraction, how they express that attraction to one another. Mm-hmm. It just makes sense to them.
Yeah, I just never identified with a man. I could never get close enough. At least growing up with the age that we were in the society as it was, you had to get married, have kids, and you would be happy. Especially these kids nowadays, they're so much more open with their feelings. They just don't care. They just want somebody to love them. And that's the main thing. You know, I got there through getting married to a man and having one other partner and then finding my wife now. And hopefully these kids nowadays don't need to go through all those steps to try to please other people. At least in our household, they can love whoever they want, and we're going to accept it and we're going to support them. And I don't think you would have gotten that like 30 years ago.
It is an interesting time because I credit the generation before us for having the courage to do Stonewall, right? 51 years ago, to have the courage to start the gay rights movement, because they said enough's enough, we're not going to hide who we are anymore. And then this generation of LGBTQ members, ours, lived through the AIDS virus, really pushed hard on legislation to get the drugs and all that, so that it's called AIDS now and not GRID. Mm-hmm. And then now you see these kids who are teenagers and in their 20s who are not ashamed.
Yeah, they don't care what you think about their sexuality. They are in the here and now, you know, not to take anything away from them. They don't think about their future, I think, but they think about, how do I feel right now? Who am I right now? Because they feel safer, they experiment earlier. They are able to realize that, yeah, I'm trans, yeah, I'm gay, much earlier than we could because we were so scared.
Yeah, meaning they come out now.
They come out now.
They come out now as teenagers.
Yeah, come out even in middle school, and some of them as early as elementary. Just think about how your life would have been different if you could really have come out when you were in second grade.
That is a dangerous thought, because there were a lot of girls growing up I was attracted to. Anyway, not to say that they had same-sex tendencies. I don't know that I knew anybody in middle school or high school that I thought had same-sex tendencies. As I think back, maybe one or two had trans tendencies, or may identify as transgender. Being trans was taboo back then.
Yeah. I don't even remember knowing the term when I was growing up. Kids, so they feel safer now, especially with their friends. When I was in middle school or high school, I would have never talked about my feelings, even with my best friend. So it was that much of a taboo, and you still had to be in the closet. You know, I didn't even know all the terms growing up. I didn't really learn about who I was until probably 22, 24, and then it was still a process about coming out and everything.
And that's why I have so much respect for all of our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, particularly our transgender brothers and sisters, because of the courage that it takes to be who they are.
Right.
Advice to anybody who's listening, what would you tell them?
That life, this is going to sound very cliche, but life's too short to not be surrounded by people that you love and people that love you. I had a relationship before I met my wife that should have ended years before it did. It took its toll on me as far as me finding who I really was to get my confidence back. So yeah, surround yourself with people that love you for who you are and don't judge you.
You know, we're going to have to do this again because you just dropped another bomb and I want to ask you about it, and we're out of time. Saved by the Bell. Happy Pride Week.
Happy Pride Week.
And happy Pride Month, LGBTQ members. We love you, and we are constantly praying for you. We want you to have your best life. And that's why the Highland Lakes Equality Center exists. Christi Bushey-Reyes, thank you for being so open.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you at our next podcast or listening in. Till then, happy Pride Week, everyone.